Warm welcome to my video lecturing session. This is Manju Madhusudanan, Assistant Professor in MBA Department. In this video lecturing session, you are going to get input for Contract Act 1872. Okay, before going to the contract, let us discuss something about law. What is the importance of law? Okay, we'll discuss it. What is law? It is a set of rules that enforced by a social institution to govern the social behavior. Okay, I make it in another way. Law is a set of rules that is created for the people and by the people. It is a simple definition for law. Contract Act. It is quite interesting and imperative. Is it interesting? Yes, it is interesting. From the eyes of law, no one has excuse. That is, if you are a prince of one country or if you are a pauper, if you do any mistake, law will not show any excuse. Let me have a small case in this area because law is always better understanding by the case studies. As you may aware of the case BP oil spill, that is BP oil spill in Gulf of Mexico during 2010. It was considered as one of the major underground disaster in US history. Even though the company is a highly networked company in the world, the company was penalized for all such activities called negligence, violation of human resources and violation of natural resources, and as well as violating the human ethics. Not only that, violating the business ethics also. The company was found guilty in all this area. So the law has enforced the company to pay 40,000 billion as a penalty. Similar to this, you can have another case also. If one person who is running a petty shop, the net worth of the shop is not even a lakh. If he is committing any mistake, law will not give any excuses to the person. He cannot claim any excuse showing his financial status. So it is quite interesting in law. Okay, what is important? I am not doing any business. I am not engaged myself in any MNC. Do I need to know about law? Simply I am sitting in my home only. Yes, it is highly essential. When a baby enters into this earth, when he takes the first breath, it not only takes the oxygen, it also takes the law of the country. You may ask question, how it is possible? When the baby is born into the nation, what we used to say, the baby is a citizen of our country. So there you are imposing the law to the baby. So from our birth to till death, the law is traveling with us in all the stages. So it is very important to know about the law. Make it in a point, make it in a quotation. Ignorance of law has no excuse. That is, if you say, I don't know about this rule, there is no excuses for this. You should know all the rules and regulations of the country. Okay? Up to this introduction about the law, I'll go to the Contract Act. Okay? What is contract? An agreement that is enforceable by law is a contract. An agreement. What is that agreement? Agreement plus enforceability of the law. I make it in a short form because I have to cover the entire board. Okay, agreement plus enforceability by law. How I can make out the agreement? Yes, agreement has to satisfy three conditions, that is offer plus acceptance. Okay, next to one, plurality of the person. Okay, next to one, consideration. Offer and acceptance. Yes, in agreement, you are going to make one offer with the second party. The second party has to accept your offer. That is nothing but offer and acceptance. Okay, here I need plurality of the person. What is the plurality? I cannot make agreement on my own, so I am in need of some second person. So plurality of the person is essential for agreement. And then consideration. What is consideration? Consideration may be in the form of money or service or doing something or not to do something. What is the doing something and not to do something? Okay. Here I want to give you one example. That is, if the husband makes an offer with his wife, I will buy you silk saree, but you have to prepare biryani for me. Here the husband is asking his wife to do something. Okay, he just do something. Again the same husband is come for another offer. I will buy silk saree, but you should not watch any serial. Here the husband is insisting not to do something. So here it is nothing but your consideration. The consideration may be in the form of money or service or doing something or not to do something. Okay, clear? At this point I want to add one more thing, one important item in agreement, that is consensus add item. What is that consensus add item? That is, both the party to the contract should have the clear knowledge about the contract matter at the same sense at the same time. For example, I want to sell my car. I am having 5 cars with me. So I have to make it clear which car I am going to sell. The color of the car, the price of the car, the model of the car. I have to make it very clearly. This is nothing but consensus add item. All this character has to be satisfied for the valid agreement. Now we'll move to the contract. Okay. An agreement, when it is enforceable by law, then it will become a contract. In contract, we are having 3 major categories. According to the formation, we can classify the contract into 3 major categories. That is void. Second one is voidable. Third one is valid. That is, what is that void contract? It is not at all a contract, null contract. An agreement which is, when it is not enforceable by law, then it will become void. For example, when you are making agreement with the convict or smugglers, it cannot be enforceable by law, then the agreement will become void. Okay. Then voidable. What is that voidable? At the time of formation of the contract, it is a valid contract only. But in the subsequent stages, you find one of the party to your contract is minor, because you cannot have a contract with the minor. At this juncture, the contract will become voidable on the point of minor. The remaining person can proceed with the contract. That is nothing but voidable contract. What is the valid contract? It is very important. An agreement which is enforceable by law is a valid contract, but it has to satisfy the 8 elements, the 8 essential elements of the valid contract that we are going to discuss in this video lecture. I will make it out. What are the 8 elements? First one, offer and acceptance. Second one, intention to create legal relationship. Third one, free consent. Fourth one, capacity of the party or capacity to contract. Fifth one, lawful object. Sixth one, lawful consideration. Seventh one, legal binding or legal formalities. Eighth one, attainability or possible to performance. Okay. So my valid contract has to satisfy all these 8 elements. If any one of the element is missing in my contract, then my contract will become void or voidable according to the situation. Let me explain one by one what is offer and acceptance. We are going to see that. Actually, law will always see the thing in 360-degree angle. As a normal person, we used to see the things in 90-degree or one portion only we used to see, but law will see the thing in 360-degree, all the possible occurrences. So my perception is something different from other perception. I may think, according to my knowledge, something may be right, but according to some other knowledge, that may be wrong. So law has to define all possible situation. How an individual can make an offer? Okay, how an offer should be? Your offer should be definite and not vague. Definite and not vague. Your offer should be very complete, detailed. It should not create any ambiguity or any duplicate. If I want to sell my car, I have to be very specific. Already we discussed that example. Okay, so your offer should be definite but not vague. Next one, offer should reach the knowledge of the offeree. Okay. Here I want to make out one thing. If I am making offer, I am an offerer. To whom I am making the offer, that person is an offeree. Okay. Whenever I am making offer, that has to reach the knowledge of the offeree. Okay, I am writing a letter, I am making an offer and kept it in my drawer. What is the use of that offer? So it has to reach either by mail or by phone or by fax or by letter. It has to reach the knowledge of my offeree. Okay. Next, mere intention. Mere invitation. I'll explain. Offer should seek consent of offeree. Offer may contain condition. Offer should not contain non-conformance as an acceptance. Okay. Mere intention, it is not an offer. What is that mere intention? I am telling to my friend, before I am leaving Dindikal, I will give my car to you. It is an intention only. It doesn't make any offer. So for this situation, my friend cannot file a case against me for not giving the car to him, because it is an invitation, intention only. I didn't make a pakka offer. What is that invitation? When you are entering into departmental stores, you can find the product with the price tag. Mere the price tag, it is not an offer for the product. It is just an invitation. It is the first step of an offer. You cannot say it is an offer. It is an invitation alone. Okay. Offer, next point is offer should accent the consent of the offeree. What is that? I am making an offer. My offeree has to accept or he has to reject it. Either one he has to do. So my thing is I want to seek the extent of my offeree. The next one is offer may contain conditional. Offer may contain condition. What is that condition? Once the ship reaches the harbor, I will dispatch the item to you. That is a condition. If the ship reaches the harbor safely, I will dispatch the goods to my offeree. Okay, this is the condition. Okay, and the final one is offer should not contain a non-compliances as a amount of acceptance. That is, whenever I am making an offer, my party has to say yes or no. If he is not telling anything, I cannot consider as a acceptance. So I should not make an offer like that. If you are not opening your mouth, then I will count this as a acceptance. You should not tell like that. So it has to say, they have to say yes or no for your offer. Then only you can make an offer. So your offer have to satisfy all this statement. Then we'll move to the acceptance. I hope all you are clear in this area. I'll move to the acceptance. Who can accept the offer? If any offer is coming to me, I have to accept the offer. So the offer can be accepted by the person to whom the offer is made. Okay, so the person offeree can accept the offer. Here I am having one doubt, whether third person can accept my offer. Yes, it is possible, provided your offerer has to accept the third person, or the third person should be a legal representative of yourself. In this juncture, the third persons are allowed to enter into the contract. So you can use the third person for your acceptance, provided your offerer has to accept it. Okay, then it is not valid. Okay. Similarly, your acceptance should reach the knowledge of the offerer. That is very important thing. Okay, and then the very big important thing in acceptance is time zone. Within the time limit, you have to convey your acceptance to the offerer. Otherwise, the offer will not have this life. The example, one boy is telling to that girl, I want to marry you. The girl is telling the acceptance after 10 years. What is the use of that offer? Okay, so always the acceptance has to follow the time horizon. Okay, clear? So the acceptance has to follow all these elements, and as well as your acceptance should be unconditional. What is that unconditional? You should not make any condition while you are accepting the offer. If you are making condition, again it will create a counter offer. Okay, the first offer will have no life. Again you are making a new offer. Okay, this is offer and acceptance. We have completed the first topic. Now we are going to do the intention to create legal relationship. It is nothing but whenever you are making contract, whenever you are making agreement, you should have the intention to create the legal binding. That's it. Next one, free consent. What is that free consent? Let me discuss. It is a very important thing in contract, free consent. Your contract should be free from coercion, undue influence, mistake, misrepresentation, and fraud. Your contract should be free from all these areas: coercion, undue influence, mistake, misrepresentation, and fraud. Let me see what is coercion. Okay, coercion is nothing but, if you take your law book, you can find the definition like this. Coercion is committing or threatening to commit the act that is forbidden by Indian Penal Code, or detaining or threatening to detain any of the property. What is that? Committing or threatening to commit. Shall I give one example for this? The husband is telling to his wife, if you are not transferring your property to my name, I will commit suicide. So it is a kind of threatening. You are forcing your wife to sign the agreement. So it is nothing but coercion. You are giving mental as well as physical torture in this area. It is nothing but coercion. And then undue influence. What is that undue influence? Okay. Based on my position, I will take the power and I want to influence some person who is below to me. It is nothing but undue influence. I want to use my power to control a person, to sign an agreement. Usually it will happen in manager, subordinate, house owner, tenant. Okay, they are using their power to have a control over that particular person. Okay, it is nothing but undue influence. Okay, what is the difference between here also you are going to make a mental torture. In undue influence also you are going to give the mental torture. What is the difference between coercion and undue influence? Coercion, here you are going to make use of physical harm, physical injuries. It is possible, it is criminal offense. Whereas in undue influence, merely you are going to give the mental torture. Okay, whereas in coercion, third person can involve. If you want to threaten one person, you yourself will not go. You will ask some gundas to do that. Here the third person is allowed. Whereas in undue influence, you cannot use the third person because you are using your power to dominate one person. Okay, undue influence, third person is not allowed. In undue influence, only mental pressure is there. There is no physical harmness. Okay, this is the difference between coercion and undue influence. Then what is the mistake? Here we have category mistake, mistake of fact and mistake of law. In mistake of law we have two things, mistake of country law and mistake of foreign law. Okay, mistake of fact. There is two category, unilateral and bilateral. What is that unilateral? If any one party to the contract, if he is doing any mistake, first we have to define about the mistake. What is the mistake? Mistake is nothing but incorrect assumption about the subject, incorrect assumption, false belief about the subject, and that leads to another party to understand in the wrong way. You understand in the wrong way and you are making the another party to misunderstand the same thing. Okay, it is nothing but mistake. Okay, what is that unilateral mistake? Okay, unilateral. Only one party to the contract, he is going to commit the mistake. For example, if party A is running a sports shop, one party B is coming to buy a tennis racket of Wilson. The party A is he didn't give the Wilson tennis racket. Instead of Wilson, he gives Head. The company name is Head tennis racket to the customer. Now the ball is on part B, that is customer court. He has to decide whether he is going to accept the Head or he is going to reject the Head. He can decide everything on his own. He can reject the Head also. If he accept the Head, then the contract, we can proceed the contract. If he reject, definitely the shopkeeper, that is party A, has to refund the money or he has to replace the Head racket with the Wilson racket. Fourthly, he is thinking the customer will accept the Head racket also because both are in equal stage. Okay, it is nothing but unilateral mistake. Okay, what is bilateral? Bilateral means both the party they are going to commit the mistake. Okay, I am making one offer with party B. I want to sell my house. The party B accepts and he made the payment to me. But both of us, we don't know about the truth. that my house was vanished away by the flood. So according in this juncture, the contract will become void because there is no house at all. How I can make a contract? It is not possible. So it is bilateral mistake. Then go to the mistake of country law, mistake of foreign law. Sometimes we used to commit mistake when we are exporting goods. We may forget about the VAT duty. We may not aware about the exact VAT for the particular commodity. So the VAT price will changes, the VAT things will changes according to the mistake of law. That is mistake of country law. Whenever we are exporting things to foreign country, we may not aware about the exact VAT duty for the particular commodity. But already I told you, ignorance is not an excuse in law. So you cannot get excuse for this. But anyhow, it is a mistake only. Okay. But according to the situation, the contract will become void or it will proceed. But almost all the time in this junction, the contract will become voidable. Okay. Let me go to the mistake of foreign law. When any one party from the foreign country, if he is doing mistake like this, we can give the excuse because it is not possible for the man to learn law of all the countries. So in this juncture, we can give the excuse for the foreign people to make a correction in that agreement. Then we can proceed with the agreement. It's nothing but mistake of foreign law. What is the misrepresentation? Here we have two types. Intentionally doing, innocently doing. Innocent and intentionally doing. If you are doing it intentionally, then it will become a fraud. Innocent. I want to sell my house. I am telling my house is of 5,000 square feet, but actual my house square feet is only 4,950. So here it is a innocent misrepresentation. Okay, here you need to correct the things. Whereas if I do it intentionally, then it will lead to fraud. Willfully, deliberately, I want to deceive the party, I want to cheat the party, then it will become fraud. Okay, there is a difference, fraud. In this fraud, you are going to cheat the party in the subject matter. You are forcing, you are giving the false commitment to get into the contract. It is nothing but fraud. Okay, let me go to the next chapter. Capacity to the contract. What is that capacity to the contract? Minor, person of unsound mind, person disqualified by law. This person cannot enter into the contract. If you are entering this person into the contract, then the contract will become void. Okay. So who is minor? According to the Indian Majority Act 1875, the minor is who has not completed the age of 18 is considered as a minor. Okay. If I enter into the contract with minor, then it will become void contract. Okay, you cannot enforce that agreement as a contract at all if your minor is there in your contract. So getting minor into the contract, it is not acceptable one. Okay, but the minor is projecting himself as a major and he is owing some 1 lakh rupee from my hand. When I asking that money to the minor, in that moment he is telling I am minor. You cannot demand money from my hand. You cannot file the case against me. That is, the term is no estoppel against minor. What is that no estoppel? You cannot make any legal proceeding against minor because minors are in the confusion stage. They cannot take the decision right or wrong. They don't know which one is right and which one is bad. So minors can be easily exploited by the person, their property can be easily stolen by the person. So the law is giving that much security for the minors. So okay, come to our case. If the minor is projecting himself as a major and he is owing some 1 lakh rupee from my hand. What can I do in this juncture? I cannot do anything. But provided if I could find that 1 lakh rupee in his hand or in his home, I can restore that money. I can take away that money. That is possible. But you cannot file any case against that minor. Okay, what are all the things about minor? Can I have minor as a partner for my company? No, it is not possible. But minor can be a beneficiary for your contract. Okay, minor can be a beneficiary. Minor can issue the negotiable instruments. What are all the negotiable instruments? Check, DD, demand draft, all things are there. So, minor can issue the negotiable instrument. Okay, no ratification is possible for minor. What is that ratification? One guy is in the age of 17. He got one proposal. On his maturity at the age of 18 or completion of age of 18, he want to accept that proposal. Whether it is possible? No, it is not possible. Again, you have to make a new offer to the major person. Then he has to accept that offer. So, the ratification is not possible with the minor. Again, if you may have one doubt with your mind. If you are giving loan to the minor, you cannot ask anything. But there is liability lies for minor also. If minor is getting loan or minor is buying some necessaries from the shop, he is liable to pay for that. Necessaries, what are all that necessaries? Food, clothes, laptop, all that necessaries. If he is buying for the necessary, definitely he has to pay for it. He cannot escape from it. Otherwise, the shopkeeper can restore the money, restore the product, or else he can demand money from that minor. One doubt, if my son is getting loan from some person, he is a minor only, whether I am a mother of my son, I am liable to pay my son's debt, or else I am a guardian of one person, whether I am liable to pay that debt. No, it is not necessary. If the law is demanding you to pay the amount, then you are considering minor agreement as a valid agreement, valid contract. It is not possible. So, if a minor is getting loan, father or guardian is not a liable to person to pay the debts. Okay. Next, we will go to the next point. Person of unsound mind. Who are the person of unsound mind? Law has the history. That is, idiots, lunatics and drunken person. Idiots completely lost their consciousness, mentally disorder. Lunatics, during certain interval only he is going to lose his consciousness. That is lunacy. In medical terminology they used to call it is lunacy. Okay. Then drunken person, obviously we cannot make out contract with the drunken person. And the person disqualified by law. Okay, who are all the person disqualified by law? That is alien enemies, insolvent, foreign sovereigns, corporate, professional person and convicts, that is criminals. Okay. Who is alien enemies? Who is alien here? Law always have their own terminology, has its own terminology. Alien here is foreign enemies. You can say, you can declare some country as an enemy to our country. During the war period, you cannot make out contract with those countries. So that is nothing but alien enemies. What is that insolvent? You very well know about insolvent. You cannot make out contract with insolvent person. Okay, foreign sovereigns. Foreign sovereigns for important person from foreign country, ambassadors. If it is not possible for you to make a contract with Jackie Chan or some brand ambassadors, it is very difficult because it is not possible for you to bring the Jackie Chan to the court. So, if you want to make out the contract with the particular person, better you can go for agent. You can make out the contract with the agents of the particular person. That is possible. Okay. Corporate. Corporate is a separate legal entity. It is created by the law. It was not created by the nature. It is an artificial person. You cannot make out contract with any corporate. But if the corporate is having legal representative, you can make out contract with those legal representative. That is possible. Okay. Then professional persons. In English law, barrister cannot enter into the contract for their fees. Barrister advocates. But in England, in our country, it is allowed. Okay. Then convicts, terrorists. It is not possible for us to make a contract with terrorists. Okay. Okay. So far we have completed offer and acceptance, intention to create legal relationship, free consent, capacity to contract. Now we are going to see lawful consideration. What is that lawful consideration? In the beginning of the session itself, I told about consideration. Consideration, it may be in the form of money or service or doing something or abstain from doing. Not to do something you can consider as a consideration. Consideration is considered as a heart of the every contract. Without consideration, your contract or agreement will be treated as a gift or compliment or token of love. So if I am doing something, I am expect something in return. So then only it is considered as an agreement or a contract. If I am doing something, there is no answer from the second party. Then I have to treat as a token of love or a gift or compliment only. So if you want to make out the contract, you need valid consideration. So how the consideration should be? Okay. Consideration may be, we have three types in this area, that is executed, executory, past consideration. Executed consideration. Executed. I am going to give money, the shopkeeper is going to give the product. Simultaneously it is going to happen. So it is nothing but executed consideration. Executory, it is going to happen in future. Executory, happen in future. I am going to give my blazer to be stitched to the tailor. I will give my material as well as with the money. But I can get back my suit after some time only, after 1 month or 2 months only. So when I receive the suit, then only my consideration will comes to an end. My contract will comes to an end. So it is going to happen in future. So we can call it as a executory consideration. Okay. Past consideration. Past means, for example, I might have given some 1 lakh rupees to my friend last year. Okay, I gave 1 lakh rupees to my friend last year. This year, he want to reciprocate that. He want to settle back that 1 lakh rupee to me. It is nothing but past consideration. Okay, what are the conditions for consideration? Consideration need not be adequate. Consideration need not be adequate. What is that? It is not necessary. You have to give 1 lakh rupees only. You have to give 50 lakh rupees only. Something you have to do. Something you have to do in return. That is nothing but your consideration. Consideration must move from desire of the promiser. Must move from desire of the promiser. If I am a promiser, it has to move from my desire. But I can receive that consideration from the third party also. But it has to move from, it has to satisfy my own desire. Then only it is considered as a valid consideration. Okay. Up to this we are going to discuss about lawful object. What is that lawful object? Can you make agreement for illegal activity? Can you make agreement for smuggling, kidnapping, Murdering, it is not possible. The activity whatever makes the society harmful, or whatever the activity whatever makes the or violate the peace of the society, the legal will not enforce it, the law will not enforce it. So you cannot make out agreement for the illegal activity, that is lawful object. You can make out the agreement or contract for the object which ensures the safety and welfare of the people. Okay. Okay, we finish. At most we are going to complete our session, that legal formalities. Before that, possibility of performance. What is the possibility of performance? Can I make an agreement to twist the sky? Whether it is possible? It is not possible. I cannot make out the agreement for that. Whether can I make out the agreement to find out the treasure? It is not possible. It is just like a magic. Okay, so your condition or agreement should be attainable, possible to performance. And the last one is legal formalities. What is that legal formalities? It should be in written format. Whenever required, you have to paste the stamp, get the signature of the dignitaries, and it has to be in the document form. So all the legal formalities you have to complete. If the contract or if the agreement satisfy all these things, it will become a valid contract. Okay. Hope you enjoy this session. I hope you got the input for Contract Act, the two for essential elements for valid contract. Thanks for opportunity. Thank you.